we could not, as black folk, regardless to conditions, regardless to achievement, could not even use a swimming pool. We were in the middle of what is called the Great Depression, and my father had lost his job. I was embarrassed. Most of the blacks who went to Inglewood, their parents worked in the post office or the railroad or some more secure job. Now I am outside. The parties that I used to get invited to, I could no longer get invited to because I was outside. I was no longer equal. Then I was dark black, not just black. Pigmentation playing a role. Some of you read down these main streets about the Puerto Ricans in New York, or go see the play West Side Story, or read West Side Story. Gangs. The rejectees. In my own community, I was about to become a rejectee. Isolated, confused, angry. Why couldn't my daddy have just as good an income as those guys and gals that I had graduated from Burke School? Why did this white teacher look at me like I was inferior? Why couldn't I go into the swimming pool? Why would they not let us go to the prom? And so I began to associate with the wrong group. And that was when I began to get into difficulty. Gangs. They gave me comfort. They gave me a sense of belonging, a sense of being somebody, for the moment being important to myself. My ego is sustained by the gangs. But realizing that I had another pull in my family, my mother and father, uncles and aunts, so I'm torn between two gangs. The community part, you see. I got to make a decision. So I forged my mother's name. My mother, who was, in spite of our poverty, she was a very middle-class oriented woman. Middle classness is an attitude. It has very little to do with how much money you have. It's an attitude, a style. You know, you gotta eat right, you gotta walk right, you gotta dress right, and all that crap. Anyway, and so when my mother began to think her baby is going to go to this school, she was outraged. I had forged her signature and gone to this other school, Wendell Phillips High School. And at Wendell Phillips High School, I was afraid because there were gangs around Wendell Phillips High School. And I was from another neighborhood that I would get, if I let them know that I was a stranger in the new neighborhood, in the new school, that I might be attacked. But I had friends who went to Wendell Phillips High School, and they directed me to the office. I was scared to death. And I went into the office, and I was assigned to a room. And I went to my homeroom, the homeroom, and they seated us alphabetically. And the guy who was sitting in back of me was a young man by the name of Nat Cole. Now, some of you have heard of Nat Cole. Nathaniel Cole, his daughter is Natalie Cole. She's writing her own story. And he was talking about music, and he was talking about this young guy, 14, 15 years old, already an accomplished musician. Then I began to get some new friends. And we began to do some other things. We were still a group, commonly understood. each other. Go to the dances together, go to the movies together, go to the Sox Park together. We were a group. You could call us gangs. But our behavior was different than that group on 58th Street, which was busy destroying things. My new group was busy building things, confidence, and I regained my confidence. What do you young people know when you get 14, 15, 16, all that? Mom and Daddy, they don't know anything. You know, how could they know anything? They're too damn old. How could in the world could they know something? You know, they too old, you know, and old clothes, old talk, old everything. So when you at that age, you're breaking through. You're learning new things. So I was able to then begin to look at my life and what I wanted to be beyond the dangers that I had seen. I continued to be friends with the old guys until some of them were dead. And some of them were tremendous people. One of my good friends, Red Kelly, went to prison for a little while, for a long time. And then when he came out, he couldn't shake. He got into, by this time, the gangs are beginning to organize in a different